the Chairman of the Green Business Committee with the San Benito County Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to Going Green, the television show sponsored by the Chamber to promote and celebrate economic vitality along with environmental sustainability. And we support meeting present needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. Today we'll hear from guests about a new green senior housing project and members of the Parks and Recreation Commission regarding master planning our parks. My first guests are Johnny Van Dyke of South County Housing and Ignacio Velazquez of AES Solar and American Electrical Services Incorporated. Hey, welcome to the show, guys.
Hi
Really
there.
happy to have you on.
Thanks.
Well, let's begin with you, Johnny, with South County Housing. South County Housing's been around for a while. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about South County Housing, the project that guys have completed.
Okay. You know, we're located in Gilroy. We've been around for about 30 years. And we started out, it's South Santa Clara County, but we actually serve more of the greater four-county region: Santa Clara, San Benito County, Monterey County, and Santa Cruz County. Mm-hmm. So we do a whole family of products, everything from single-family home ownership to multifamily special needs housing. Mm-hmm. So the most recent project that we've completed is the one we're going to talk about today, Vista Meadows.
Vista Meadows, right.
Yeah.
Great. And Ignacio, maybe you can tell us a little bit about AES Solar and what you guys been doing.
AES is part of American Electrical Services. We've been around for about 25 years. We've been doing thousands of homes over those years in electrical and solar, and also security systems. So we do work throughout the Bay Area, from Hollister through Soledad, Petaluma, Sacramento, down in Bakersfield.
One thing I also wanted to mention is Ignacio is also a county commissioner, a planning commissioner, right, as long as I'm a fellow commissioner, but I'm a city planning commissioner. Right. Let's talk about the Vista Meadows project. I know it's been on the drawing board for quite some time. It went through the moratorium, so it was delayed, and it was recently completed. I went through a walkthrough, and it's been garnering a lot of attention locally. Perhaps you can give us a little overview, a brief overview of Vista Meadows.
Yeah, we've actually had responsibility for the land for about the last 14 years. Mm-hmm. So we had gone through all the entitlements and done the site development, and just when we were ready to pull the permits, the moratorium went into effect, right, and the project was suspended. And so we just shelved it until the city could get their act together and get their issues resolved. And so once those were resolved, we literally were the first project out the gate. This was actually the second project that came out the gate. We had another single-family project that we came out with at the same time. Both of those had been suspended. And so once we got it together, we had to actually go through a whole redesign on the project. It was originally designed as smaller little bungalows, and during that moratorium period, the city county geologists discovered a fault line that ran through the middle of the site.
Wow.
So we had to reposition all the structures to one side to leave a buffer off of that fault line. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we got, basically the two residential building component, as opposed to original design, I believe, was 10 or 12 buildings.
Mm-hmm. When we talk about project design and the green message and the value we put on resources and the respect for our environment, and the beautiful thing that I see about the green message as it applies to design is that all aspects of the design is carefully considered. And we begin with the community need of senior housing, affordable senior housing, and my familiarity with the housing element is that 13% of the citizens of Hollister are seniors, and most of those seniors are low income. So perhaps you can tell us a little bit about how Vista Meadows addresses the community need for senior housing.
Well, it very much,
affordable housing.
We are a nonprofit affordable housing developer, and so that's our charter, and so we take that very seriously. Try to create properties that are safe and clean and affordable, and we took that to heart on this project. And we also try to make them as close to a market rate home as we can do within the boundaries of the monies that we have to spend on it.
Right.
And so I'm really proud of this project, probably more so than on a lot of other projects I've done. I feel like we just did a really nice job. It's got some great features to it.
Yeah. I have to ask you this: who was the architect of the project?
It was an architect that we've used quite a bit. They're out of the Greater Bay Area. TWM, and project architect was a gentleman by the name of Bob Wright.
Right, and it's 72 units now, right?
Yes, yes, sir. With a 3,000 square foot common community facility. So it's got a great room with a kitchen and a computer lab. It's a very nice facility and a very large extended patio area.
I know, I was really impressed with the project on our walkthrough. Ignacio, perhaps you can tell us about how you became involved in the project and providing the solar panels.
Well, for us, we were lucky. We haven't done work in Hollister in about 10 years, so this is our first job back in Hollister, a large job anyways. So we were fortunate. We've had a relationship with South County from previous jobs. So we were able to take our guys from Hollister, put them on the job. We had about 12 guys working for about 6 months. So we were fortunate to work with them, and also to do things that we don't see on very many jobs. This job is 100% solar powered. You just don't see it anywhere. It has a lot of great deals in there to really conserve power and water and on and on. We just haven't seen a project like this. This is the way projects should be built. This is a great example of the exceptional project.
I agree. And my understanding is that initially the solar was the solar aspect of the project was initially to power the common areas, and later you added carports with photovoltaics on the carports to go ahead and power the units. Is that correct? That came later in the design?
Yeah,
right,
I can address that. In the initial first blush, when we create the schedule of values at how much it's going to cost, some of that you have to forecast way in advance, and that's how you secure your initial funding sources, is based on that estimate. We don't have the luxury of having completed plans 2 years in advance when we're trying to chase the funding. So we put together a budget based on the best guesses, current market trends and everything. So we built this budget. At the end of the day, when I bought the project out, we had some substantial savings in the project, and that's when I started looking for ways to spend the money. It's a function of, the money, the project, we did the math and we said, the project costs X, we can still create it affordable. Well, if I was to deliver it for X minus so much money, we can't lower the rents. So I couldn't do anything with it. So it would have been a function of just giving the money back. So it was a use it or lose it scenario. And so I started looking for some big ticket items, and adding PV for the residential loads made the most sense.
Right.
And adding the carports, the original design was a pretty bare bones design. And we have a fairly temperate climate here, but it still gets warm in the summer, and the rainy season, it's really nice to have your vehicles in a shaded structure, and then throwing the PV panels on top of that just really made the project.
It seems like Ignacio, it seems like the PVs and the carports were made for each other.
Well, they are, and part of this conversation early on when we were looking at ways to offset power, there's new programs out there, virtual metering and a few different programs. So I spoke with Johnny. We kind of came up with the concept of the carports, put the solar on top so they're not taking up space, giving the apartment owners room to park their car in the shade, protect them. It just worked out very well.
Great, yeah.
This project, so.
It exemplifies a design philosophy. We had the cookie cutter approach where you take a plan and you try to fit it to the site. And what you're describing, from the evolution of the bungalows to the attached units and adding the solar later on, is part of the green philosophy of design, where it evolves like Frank Lloyd Wright, his organic philosophy, where the design comes from the peculiarities of the site and your awareness of technologies and applications. The design evolves and changes.
Well, I think that what's going on now is the architects are learning to work with the contractors to understand how green can work and not be so expensive if it's done right and done early. So in this job, again, we were able to incorporate ideas that we've done on different projects on this site, and it turned out to fit the project really well, and it complements it.
It does. You know, I was looking at the picture of Vista Meadows here, and it has maybe you can tell us a little bit about the fescue grass and how some of the other green features that the project offers.
Well, I mean, that's one of the features that's near and dear to me is I'm trained as a certified master gardener out of the Monterey Bay, and
I didn't know that.
I'm the landscape is one of those touchy-feely things that I'm very affectionate about, but the landscape here is very, very drought tolerant. We have no spray heads. Everything's done with low water use drip emitters. And the concept of the grass is the traditional landscape in a project like this would be to have just acres and acres of sod. And it's also very energy intensive. Uses a lot of water, which costs a lot of energy. And then there's a lot of energy to keep it maintained, the fertilizers, and then just the maintenance. So I worked with the landscape architect, and we designed in this no-mow. Basically, it's meadow grass. It takes some education. You know, the residents initially when they were there is like, when are you guys going to cut the grass? They're complaining because it will get up to knee high, and it looks, but it's very inviting, very wispy. Once the trees mature, it'll be a real nice space. The other aspect of this these no-mow areas is all of the stormwater is filtered in this grass area. So all of the downspouts on the roofs are all filtered into this. I have this no-mow grass on the perimeters of the drive lanes. So that water all sheet flows into there. The hydrocarbons are filtered and taken away. And so then what we discharge into the city storm system, it's metered out very slowly, and the net effect is we actually meter out less than if there was no development there. You know, we've put all this impervious surfaces on this project now, the rooftops and the walkways and the carports and the drive lanes.
Right.
And so that would create an inordinate amount of runoff. We're capturing all of that water on site, helping hold it on site, percolate it into the ground,
before it gets down into the storm drains,
recharge our water tables, and then any release that we do is clean, filtered water that ultimately goes into the river.
Nice.
So that's a real nice feature. I'm very proud of that. It takes a little bit of education. Once you introduce that to people and you explain to them, people's eyes kind of light up, and then they see the vision of this meadow, and they can see it now.
Hence the name,
Vista
Meadows.
Meadows.
Great. And my understanding, it's a Build It Green project, am I correct?
It is a Build It Green. We are a certified Build It Green builder. And we've also done projects under LEED, but we have chosen Build It Green. We feel like it meets the spirit of the way we want to build the best. Some of the features that we do for Build It Green are we used 2x6 exterior wall framing, and versus 2x4, which would have been Met code. What that allows us to do is to increase the insulation in the walls. So the net effect of all of that is we create these really energy efficient apartments so now I've got a really energy efficient apartment because it's insulated really well. I've got super glazed windows so that I don't get a lot of extra heat gain or the cold infiltration. That's one of your single largest places where you lose hot and cold is through the windows.
Air conditioning.
And so what we were able to do is we were able to create these super energy efficient apartments, which then reduces the load that we need to actually offset with the photovoltaic. So I've heard, and this is anecdotal, but you know, some of the PG&E bills, and this is with air conditioning, they're less than $30 a month, and they're all electric units. They're electric appliances,
Wouldn't you
No,
say?
that's before the solar is kicking in. We're still waiting for PG&E to do the final hookup.
okay.
Then it
But-
will be a
And
zero.
then we'll zero
bill.
the bills out. So we
This
will
is the
zero.
largest solar system, private system in San Benito County. It's a 161K system, 700 modules.
Wow.
It's the largest system
Yeah.
in San Benito County.
Wouldn't you say that's a trend of multi-unit development is for net metering and
It should be a standard.
should be a
It
standard?
really should. It's a waste of roof space if you
Yeah,
can do it.
and it's extremely affordable. You know, the net, the credit or the rebate that you get is close to $4 a kilowatt.
It depends on the program, but for a new home or new development, definitely pays for itself within
Yeah.
a few years.
Yeah.
You see any other trends in the future for multi-unit development? I know what, we were talking earlier about, you know, the magnitude of the project is every decision you make is magnified. So, you know, net metering, and also I've heard about what's called decentralization, where you have your own internal power source on a development like that. We can possibly, there's been examples in Atlantic.
There are some states where they allow that, but what this project we did was a new concept. It's called virtual metering. So basically, we're able to harvest all the power and distribute that through PG&E's meters
I see.
to
Right.
the tenants
Right.
as far as the billing goes.
Okay.
So excess power will go back onto the grid. PG&E uses it, but credits all the residents.
Right. Well, I think Vista Meadows is certainly is a great example of a green project, and it really meets a community need. And I really want to thank you guys for coming on the show today. And I know we're currently working on another project in Hollister called Gateway Palms, and I want to have you both come back for that one too.
Yeah.
Is there any other words that you want to say about Vista Meadows? in
No, I'm
closing?
just very proud of it. We have just a few vacancies left, so encourage anybody that's looking for senior. You have to be 62 or older to live there.
Yeah, that's the baby boomer generation is aging. Huh?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what I wanted to say real quick was I think this is a great example of what RDA money is used for.
Yeah.
And it's an
Good point.
exceptional project. And I think people really need to take a minute to drive by this project to see what can be done if everything is put together the right way.
Yeah,
Great.
that was one of the big funding sources, the City Redevelopment Agency.
Well, thanks to the City Redevelopment Agency, and thanks to you, Ignacio, and thanks to you, Johnny, for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
We'll have
It's
you
good to
guys
see you.
back soon. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, welcome back to Going Green. Today in our studios we have a couple of commissioners from the San Benito County Commission of Parks and Recreation. The San Benito County Board of Supervisors established the Parks and Recreation Commission in 2006. And let me read you their mission statement. The Commission is dedicated to an enhancement of park and recreation opportunities in the county. The Advisory Commission makes recommendations to the Board on the use of existing county park facilities, need for future park facilities, development of recreational activities and programs, use of federal, state, and local funds for parks and recreation facilities and activities, joint use of park facilities, and coordination with federal, state, and local parks and recreation agencies to enhance the use of park facilities throughout the county. I want to welcome Don Kelly, who's the chair of the commission, and Jesse Vallejo, who is the youth commissioner. Welcome to the studios, guys.
Thank you.
And I'm going to start with Don. Don, could you tell us a little bit what Park and Recreation Commission does beyond what we just talked about?
Well, the basic beginning of the commission, like you mentioned, started in 2006. The meetings of the commission commenced about mid-2007 with 5 supervisorial appointees on the commission. And then there's also an appointee from the Veterans Memorial Park Commission that represents their interests, as well as an appointee from the San Benito County Historical Society that represents the historical park. And then also we have our 2 youth commissioners, and this year we're represented not only by San Benito High School, but also by Anzar High School.
That's great.
Yeah,
So we get a little cross-section, everybody, huh?
It's a great mix of people, and very ambitious about the direction that we take with Parks and Recreation.
That's great. That's great. And when do they meet? Is it a monthly meeting?
It is. It's the third Tuesday of each month. The board chambers in the administrative building on 4th Street,
Okay,
5:30.
Public's welcome.
Absolutely encourage. We encourage all input from anyone that's interested in any avenue of
That's great.
recreation.
Yeah, that brings me to the Park and Recreation Facilities Master Plan. I understand that was adopted by the Board of Supervisors in July of 2010. The plan was developed with input from numerous agencies, organizations, residents of San Benito County. The plan provides for a vision for parks and recreation in our county and identifies programs to achieve the vision. It sounds like quite a project. Can you tell me how you prioritize all this input and how you make decisions that way?
Well, it started in October of 2008 when we held 2 community informational input meetings and seminars. And we took those, the outcome of those meetings, and asked the community to prioritize what recreational elements they would like to see. Mm-hmm. We also invited these sports leagues in and obtained their input. We did a professional phone survey as well as surveys at the county fair, and just took as much diversity and cross-section of the community as we could. Laid it out based on how the community prioritized it, because it's their facilities that we're building. We want to do it for them and get their input, and that's how the priorities came about. It was just basically finding out what people wanted and putting it in order of accumulation.
That's good. Yeah, I looked at some of the sheets where they listed some of the ideas that people had, and some of them were great. And then I think some guy had the idea for a wave machine at San Justo, and I thought that's a little out there, but but you take all input in, so that's wonderful.
We do.
Yeah.
We really try to cover the entire cross-section.
That's great. Well, since our program's about green technology and principles, can you tell me how some of these ideas were integrated into the master plan?
In the master plan, it directs the implementation through joint use agreements, partnerships, and in the construction and the developmental stages of all of our projects, we look at ongoing maintenance issues as well as preservation and especially open space and greenbelt preservation. Mm-hmm. So revitalization of habitats and for example, the River Trail Park that's proposed, mm-hmm. Because of the previous illegal vehicle damage that's been done to the river shed area, mm-hmm. Those have been looked at, and we've decided that in partnerships with, say, horticulture clubs through the high school or other agencies, other service groups, that it would be in the best interest of the community to come back and reapply the natural habitat as it was originally with the correct plant life.
That's great.
Yeah,
yeah. You know, I'm the water conservation program manager for the county, so I love seeing anything that protects our water resources, along with using natural native plants which only require the natural rainfall. I think it's whenever you can do that, it's wonderful. So I'm glad you're looking at that. That's great. Now, Jesse, as the youth commissioner, what have you been hearing from our community's younger people in regards to the master plan? Was there anything that really stood out with you, or?
Well, what I've heard from my friends and other students at the high school was that they want a variety of recreational activities. And after learning more about the master plan, after it was introduced to me, I thought the commissioners did a really good job mm-hmm. in addressing what we need in our community to make that possible for our youth to be able to go out and not just be bored all day. So basically the thing that stood out to me is kids want more to do in our community.
What were some of the ideas? I mean, like skateboard parks, ball fields?
Well, I mean, the big one was an aquatic center.
Really? Huh.
Yeah,
huh.
And they just want improvement to our fields.
Uh-huh.
Just pretty much an all-around community center where people could just go, meet, have a good time, and just hang out pretty much.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, because I know it's kind of limited right now,
yeah.
so some of these ideas would be really great. And then what does the master plan tend to do to address the regular needs of our younger community members as far as like outreach? Is there any like educational programs that would be in that? Like, is there any like signage that might identify the watershed, some of the plants they're looking at, or?
Well, I think if we do ever do a regional parkway in our town, it would need a lot of volunteer work. So for our youth to go out and do volunteer work out there, it would be very educational for them to actually see what's going on in the river, like what kind of plant life's going on, and whatnot. So I think that'd be good.
Okay, that's great. Well, I'm glad you're thinking about those things, and you know, not only recreation and sports, but we have an opportunity to educate people along the way. So that's great. I'm going to go back to Don here. I know funding is an issue for everyone these days, and have the Parks and Recreation Commission applied for any grants, or are they being considered for any right now?
We are. Actually, from day one, we've used per capita funds, park bonds, monies that have been available, always looking to apply for the county's fair share of those statewide funds that are out there. At this time now, we're preparing 4 applications for Proposition 84 funds that have a maximum cap of $5 million per grant application.
Is this like a cost share type thing, or?
No.
Well, that'd be great.
And yeah, it's a chance to really step it up and fund some big projects. And the River Trail Park and the Regional Park project, because those 2 projects were prioritized high on the list of community wants and incorporate elements that they want, such as the aquatics center, through partnerships. And our realization is that we can't stand alone as a recreation provider. What we're offering is the opportunity for partnerships to bring service groups together, and the county's obligation or direction is to accumulate the area, the property to do the complex on, and then bring in the professionals, you know, the YMCAs and the Boys and Girls Clubs, and have them apply the recreational procedures that they're proficient at on that area, in that park area, and tie it into our educational facilities, economic development around the facilities, use it as a nexus to you know, gang prevention, law enforcement, our health care systems. Recreation can be tied to so many different elements throughout a community that it offers everybody the opportunity to be involved in a partnership.
Yeah, you mentioned economic opportunity. I know I lived in Monterey before coming to our county, and I know the rec trail over there, you know, they have bike rentals and, you know, little sandwich shops, places to eat, get coffee and things like that. So I'm hoping that'll spur some of that activity along where we do the river trail. So hoping that all comes to fruition.
That's what our hope is also.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and it'd be something for us to do on the weekends, which would be great too. So Jesse, I wanted to know, is it too late for the public to become involved in the process and developing these plans, or?
It's never too late. I mean, we strongly welcome the public to come to our meetings. Like Don said earlier, they're the 3rd Tuesday every month at 5:30. We've also had workshops earlier in the year where the public got to express their ideas on what they wanted in the community. And we just encourage them to come share their ideas so they can improve our parks and hopefully future parks too.
That's good. It seems like at the workshops and stuff, you got pretty good attendance and a lot of input.
A lot of input.
That's great.
People wanted to
but to get a good plan, it really takes input from everybody. So I'm glad to hear that a lot of people were in that. And then Jesse, if someone wanted more information on Park and Recreational Facility Master Plan, where would they go to get it?
Well, they would go to www.socb.us. That's San Benito County's website.
Okay.
And there's a link leading to the Parks and Recreation website. And the master plan is on that page. So they could pretty much just see all what we've been doing throughout this whole time.
Well, that's exciting. I'm hoping to have you guys back later, and we can kind of gauge progress and see what's happening now with that whole master plan. And I hope you keep me in mind if you guys need to have some water issues or something. I'm available, because I'd love to give some input into that. But I want to thank both of you for being on the show today, and good luck on the project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, welcome back. You're watching Going Green, and this show is sponsored by the San Benito Chamber of Commerce. I'm David Huboy. I'm a green certified building professional and an architect. I want to tell you about the trade show that we had last May, and it was called Building Business Bigger and Better, and we had a job expo. And one of the highlights of that show was presenting the Green Business of the Year award, and it went to West Coast Rubber and Recycling, and it was really a proud moment. personally, and I want to congratulate West Coast Rubber and Recycling for receiving that award and doing such a wonderful job with their recycling efforts in Hollister. And I also want to say is that I want to thank Sean Novak, my co-host, and Jesse Vallejo and Don Kelly, Parks and Recreation Commissioners, for talking about master planning the parks. And I know Don for a long time, and I don't know of anyone who's more passionate about our parks and kids' recreation activities than Don Kelly. And I also want to thank Ignacio Velasquez and Johnny Van Dyke of South County Housing for appearing on our show and talking about the Green Senior Housing Project. So we've talked about parks and the Green Senior Housing, and the common denominator, in my view, is the quality of life, and that's what this show is all about. So I want to thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Going Green.